Hi, this is a review of the Polaroid Snap Instant Digital Camera, which uses the zinc zero ink printing technology. Basically, if you're as old as I am, you remember the original Polaroids, which were the cameras that first brought instant printing to life. You would take a picture and it would spit it out. This is as close as you're going to get right now to finding a camera with those capabilities to it. Instead of printing on the bottom, it prints out of the side, but there is basically a zero ink printer in this, comprised with a pretty simple 10 megapixel camera. Shoots out of the front there like a normal camera would. It's got a little magnetic enclosure there so you can protect the lens. And I wasn't really sure what to expect out of this camera, mainly because I've tested out Z-Ink printers in the past, which were just about the same size as this, but were strictly a printer, no camera at all built into it. It was using your cell phone camera and then using Bluetooth to get the information to the printer for it to print out. And those are still selling here on Amazon for about $129. So for $99, you have the printer and built in, and you also have a camera, which is a 10 megapixel camera. It'll print like the old Polaroid does, again, out of the side. And it'll also, if you put an SD card in the little slot on this other side here, it will save those. There you see you got a little USB port for charging or for attaching that to your computer, and a little SD port and a little connection to use the enclosed wrist strap so you don't drop it. Now, I did upgrade the firmware immediately after getting it. It took my computer a couple tries for it to recognize the device on Windows 10, so that took a few minutes, but I highly recommend doing a search with any electronic device. If there is updated firmware, always do that first, because if there are any glitches to the hardware that are fixed in the new firmware, avoid those entirely. So just do a Google search for the name of this, the Polaroid Snap, and for firmware, you'll find that, and you can download that and install it. It's not to say this camera doesn't have some quirks to it, as the on-off switch is actually the same little thing that opens up the flash. So that's what turns it on. You'll notice there's a few little LEDs on the back here which are going to turn on. It's going to make a few beeping noises, and it's going to let you know that the camera is ready. So this is the power switch, and I find it to be way too easy to accidentally hit that if it's in a bag or something. It may accidentally turn itself on. There is a sleep mode if you're not taking pictures, so it probably won't kill the battery too much, but I would probably recommend putting this in a case so you don't accidentally hit the top of there and accidentally turn it on. And on the top here, you have some pretty simple controls. You have a shutter mode. That's what clicks to take a picture like a normal camera. Then you have a timer if you want to get in the picture yourself. Set this up. You can put it on a tripod if you want. As you can see, you've got the threads there. And then you can choose between a few different modes here as far as different colors. If you want it to be color, black and white, sepia, you can choose whether or not you want the old little borders like Polaroid cameras are used to. But for me, I would pretty much probably always use it in the color mode. Definitely wouldn't use the borders just because of the fact that these 2x3-inch photos are fairly small. And I took a picture here to test to give you an idea of what it looks like. Here's a little 2x3. That's Wally the Green Monster, Red Sox mascot extraordinaire, sitting on a nice leather chair. And just to give you an idea of how well the color looks, I brought Wally himself here. I know, big celebrity. And there is the picture. And there's Wally. I think it does a pretty good job of picking up the color. Say goodbye, Wally. I think it does a pretty good job picking up the colors. And I'm also going to attach the digital file that it saved of that same image. And you can kind of see the difference there. It's pretty good. The digital quality isn't as good as my iPhone at times. It depends if you get it in focus, which it's all automatic through the camera. So there's a little bit of hit and miss on that. But the main purpose of this camera is to be able to take a picture and get that instant gratification, to get that printed out immediately, and that it does fairly well. So let me walk you right through this procedure just to show you how long that takes. You take the lens cap off, and sadly, that is not a requirement, so make sure you remember that part. If you leave the lens cap on, you'll end up ruining a sheet of paper. You pop that open again. To turn that on, you're going to see the little LED lights come on. It's going to beep. It's going to let you know that it's ready to take a photo. And we'll take a picture of my keyboard here. And you'll be able to watch that as it prints out. You can hear it. It makes a little bit of noise as it's printing out the picture. And there you can see the picture of the keyboard coming out. Guess it should be that way technically. And that pops right out. And you don't have to worry about these being wet or anything. It's the Zero ink. Does not actually use live ink. It's kind of, it's all heat activated. So that is the, that's my keyboard there. So basically, this little device is kind of fun to play around with. It is, you know, it's not going to give you super high-def pictures, but that was never what Polaroids were about. They were about being able to carry them around, be able to get a photo printed immediately. You get a nice extra added bonus with this one in the fact that it does also have a slot for an SD card, so you can save those images digitally as well, and you'll get a much larger photo than you will. I'll throw this keyboard photo into the review as well, because you're going to get a much larger photo than this little 2x3 on the digital one, but you have an instantaneous one. There's a few different, like I said, a few different modes on here that you can play around with, but overall, I think that makes the most sense to use it in the color mode. You may decide that you'd like to do something else with it. But overall, a cool little device. Definitely recommended. Definitely fun to play around with. One thing to note is that the paper is not cheap. It comes in packages of 10, 20, I believe 50, and maybe even more at Amazon. Usually averages about 50 cents a sheet of paper, so the paper's not cheap. But, you know, for that old Polaroid feel, this is the best, you know, you can get. So again, this is a review of the Polaroid Snap Instant Digital Camera with zinc Zero ink printing technology. Definitely recommended. One was provided for the purposes of this review, but that does not guarantee a good review. I am Darren O'Neill. Thanks for watching.